I sabotaged the man who loved me and labeled him a coward when he wouldn't fight a stranger in my living room. Everyone thinks I'm the victim in this breakup, and I let them. That bruise on my cheek in the photos I posted? I put it there myself. But here's what I'm actually afraid of: losing my trauma blog's sponsorship, my reputation in the survivor community, and the narrative that I'm healing. My followers see a woman finally setting boundaries. The truth is I manufactured a crisis to test him. If they knew I paid my cousin to break in while Marcus was visiting, they'd burn me alive. I'm going to tell you everything, including the part where Marcus found the footage before he left. You're going to hear about the PayPal receipts, the private group messages, and why he locked my door from the outside that night. But first you need to understand how I convinced myself this was logical. 6 months before that night, Marcus showed up on our third date with pepper spray. Not the cheap kind. He'd researched the gel formula that doesn't blow back in wind. He'd memorized my neighborhood's crime stats. He asked if my deadbolt was a double cylinder. At the time I thought, finally someone who gets it. Someone who understands why I flinch at sudden movements, why I triple-check the locks, why I sleep with a knife under my mattress. My last ex had laughed when I asked him to walk me to my car, called me paranoid. Marcus just nodded and installed motion sensor lights the following weekend. What I didn't tell him was that the knife wasn't for intruders. It was for me, during the bad nights when staying alive felt like a chore. What I didn't mention was that my paranoia had a prescription bottle with my name on it, one I'd stopped taking because it made me feel fuzzy. And I definitely didn't mention that my trauma blog, Unbroken Wings, had just hit 10,000 followers, and my analytics showed that my most viral posts were the ones where I described close calls and near misses. The medication posts, crickets. The self-care routines, maybe 100 likes. But the post about the guy who followed me home from the grocery store, 40,000 shares. A sponsorship from a security company. Free therapy sessions from an online counseling app. The first hint should have been how carefully I curated my fear. I never posted on the nights when I felt fine. I didn't share the days when I managed to go outside without scanning every face. I needed Marcus to be the perfect partner, the one who never questioned my anxiety, the one who built a fortress around my neuroses. He did everything right. He learned my triggers. He respected my space. He never once made me feel like my hypervigilance was a burden. So naturally I had to break him. My cousin TJ needed cash. He got into some trouble with a bookie. I offered him $300 to climb my fire escape at 2 a.m., jiggle the window until it made noise, then run when Marcus confronted him. I told TJ to wear a ski mask to make it look real, but under no circumstances to actually hurt anyone. I wanted a performance, not a crime. I figured Marcus would charge out the door, chase him down, maybe tackle him. I'd have my proof that he was my protector. I'd write about it, how love means running toward danger instead of away. My followers would eat it up, but Marcus didn't chase him. He locked the bedroom door, called 911, and stood between me and the window with his arms outstretched. He told me to stay behind him. He whispered that help was coming. When TJ rattled the glass harder, Marcus didn't flinch. He just dialed again, giving the dispatcher our exact location, his voice steady as a metronome. The police arrived 8 minutes later. By then TJ was long gone, exactly as planned. That's when I snapped. I looked at Marcus, at his shaking hands and pale face, and I said the words I'd been rehearsing in my head: "You're weak. You can't protect me. You just stood there." The words felt like poison leaving my body. He stared at me, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. The officer in our living room shifted his weight. I saw the calculation happening in Marcus's eyes, the shock, the hurt, then something harder, resignation. He didn't say anything until the cops left. Then he walked to my front door, turned the deadbolt, and took my spare key off his ring. He locked the door from the outside, snick, and I heard his car start in the driveway. The silence that followed was so complete I could hear the refrigerator humming. I waited 15 minutes, then posted a photo of my cheek, already swelling from where I'd punched myself in the bathroom while Marcus was on the phone with dispatch. The caption: "He left when I needed him most. Guess I finally see who he really is." The comments flooded in immediately. "Leave him, girl, you deserve better, men are trash." But here's what I hadn't anticipated: Marcus left his phone on my nightstand. It kept buzzing with texts from his sister, his mom, his best friend. They were all screenshots of my post. They were all asking him what happened. And then at 4:47 a.m. a text from an unknown number: "Did she find out?" I shouldn't have opened his Photos app. I know I shouldn't have. But I did. And there, in a hidden folder labeled Home Security, were videos, dozens of them, all time-stamped from the past month. Marcus had set up a nanny cam in his own apartment, one that pointed at his living room window. He'd been documenting something too. The first video showed me 3 weeks earlier slipping a note under his windshield wiper. I'd forgotten about that. It was a test. I wanted to see if he'd mention it, if he'd connect it to the other strange things happening around him. He hadn't said a word. The video showed him picking it up, reading it, then carefully folding it and putting it in a drawer. The note, in block letters I disguised, read: "I know where you sleep." The second video from 2 weeks ago showed him standing outside my apartment after I'd told him I was too anxious for company. I'd posted that night about feeling watched, about seeing shadows in the parking lot. Marcus had come to check on me. The video, clearly from across the street, showed me laughing on the phone, packing my kitchen, completely unworried. I'd been talking to my blog manager about monetization strategies. The third video changed everything. It was from yesterday afternoon. Marcus had a zoomed-in shot of me at the coffee shop with TJ sliding him an envelope of cash. The video had audio. I could hear my own voice, bright and conspiratorial, just make it loud, make it scary, but don't actually touch him. I need this content by Friday. Marcus knew. He'd known before he even came over that night. My hands shook so hard I dropped his phone. The screen cracked against my hardwood floor. I scrambled to pick it up to delete what I'd seen, but the passcode had changed. He'd locked me out while I was sleeping. The screen showed new notifications, 3 emails from a law firm, a calendar invite for consultation, restraining order, and a text from his sister that simply said, "We have the footage." I tried calling him, straight to voicemail. I texted Marcus, "Please, it's not what you think, I can explain." The message went undelivered. He'd blocked me. By sunrise, I'd lost 40 followers. Not a lot, but they were my core supporters, the ones who'd been with me since the beginning. Their comments stayed up for minutes before they vanished. "Wait, did anyone else see the cop's body cam footage? Something doesn't add up. Girl, where's the police report number?" I should have stopped posting. That's what any sane person would do. Instead, I doubled down. I wrote a thread about how abusers sometimes collect evidence to discredit their victims. I shared a screenshot of my cheek, now properly bruised, with a timestamp. I drafted a post about the toxic practice of recording partners without consent. I tagged domestic violence hotlines. I got 2 new sponsorship offers by noon. At 1 p.m. my doorbell rang. It was TJ, but he wasn't in his ski mask. He was holding a manila envelope. "Marcus came to see me," he said. "Paid me $500 to sign this." He handed me the papers. It was a sworn statement witnessed by a notary detailing everything: the cash, the instructions, the timeline. At the bottom, Marcus had attached a printout of a bank transfer. He'd paid TJ more than I had. He said he's building a case, TJ muttered. For what I don't know, I grabbed TJ's arm. "You can't sign this, I'll lose everything." He looked at me with something I'd never seen from him before: disgust. "'Cause you already lost me. I ain't signing shit. I'm just showing you what you're up against." He left the envelope and walked away. I spent the afternoon photographing my apartment for insurance. Not renter's insurance, content insurance. I needed to prove my workplace had been compromised. I drafted a cease and desist letter to myself using a template I'd found online, making it look like Marcus had sent it. I created a fake email account with his name and sent it to my blog's contact page. Evidence, I told myself. I'm just creating the evidence I need. At 5 p.m. my blog manager called. "We need to talk about the comments," she said. "People are asking for the police report." I told her I'd request it Monday. She paused. "The sponsorship team wants verification. They need to protect their brand." I heard the subtext: they needed to protect themselves from me. I spent 3 hours crafting a response post about legal processes taking time and re-traumatization through documentation. I used phrases I'd copied from real survivor stories. I added a photo of my medication bottle, artfully arranged with a cup of tea. The comments stabilized. The sponsors stayed. That night I couldn't sleep. Not because of anxiety, but because of something worse: clarity. I kept seeing Marcus's face when I'd called him weak. The way his expression had shuttered, closed, like a house going dark room by room. I wanted him to prove something to me, to the world, to my followers. Instead, he'd prove something to himself: that he was smart enough to document the crazy, calm enough to call for help, and brave enough to walk away. I posted at 3 a.m. about insomnia, about the weight of betrayal. I used a photo I'd taken weeks ago, one where I'd smeared my makeup to look like I'd been crying. I wrote he took my sense of safety with him when he left. The post got 10,000 likes before dawn. The next morning, a reporter DM'd me. She wanted to do a feature on digital age domestic violence. I agreed, then immediately panicked. I spent 2 hours scrubbing my old posts for inconsistencies. I found 3 photos I'd used twice with different captions. I deleted them. I found a comment where I'd mentioned Marcus's name in a positive context back when we first started dating. I deleted that too. The interview was scheduled for Thursday. I had 3 days to prepare my narrative. I called in sick to my actual job. I'm a data entry clerk for a medical supply company, something my followers don't know. I told my manager I was dealing with a personal safety issue. She was sympathetic. I used the day to create a timeline of Marcus's abuse, backdating screenshots of fake texts. I used a burner phone to send myself menacing messages, then screenshotted them. I made sure the phone number was similar to Marcus's, just 1 digit off. Close enough to be a burner, I reasoned. My cousin called me Thursday morning. Marcus's lawyer contacted me again, he said, offered me $1,000 to sign the statement and appear in court if needed. I felt the floor tilt. You can't, I whispered. TJ laughed, bitter and short. I already did, cuz I signed it this morning. He paid cash. I'm not going down with you. The reporter arrived at noon. I had my talking points ready. I showed her the bruise photo. I shared the fake text screenshots. I cried on cue. She ate it up. When she asked for Marcus's side, I gave her his old phone number, the one he'd disconnected. He's blocked me everywhere, I said, voice breaking. That's what they do. The article went live Friday morning. It was perfect. It called me brave, resilient, a voice for the voiceless. It mentioned my blog, my followers, my sponsorships. It painted Marcus as another statistic, a man who couldn't handle a woman with trauma. My follower count doubled. A major publisher reached out about a book deal. I was riding high until the email came. It was from Marcus's lawyer, but addressed to me, not my blog. The subject line: evidence packet, civil suit for defamation. I opened the attachment. There was the video of me paying TJ, the audio transcript, TJ's signed statement, screenshots of my posts, everything. But the final page was what made me vomit on my keyboard. It was a screenshot from my own blog analytics, showing I'd scheduled the He Left Me post 3 hours before TJ ever climbed my fire escape. I'd been so excited to share the content that I'd queued it up early. They had metadata. They had server logs. They had proof that I'd planned my own victimhood before the crime ever happened. My phone rang. It was my blog manager. The sponsors are pulling out, she said, all of them, effective immediately. I tried to speak but only made a choking sound. And the publisher, they've retracted the offer. They say there's a credibility issue. I hung up and refreshed my blog. The comments had turned. You scheduled a trauma post before the event? Where's the police report, girl? This is unhinged. My follower count was dropping by hundreds every minute. The article about me had been updated with a correction. This story contains unanswered questions about the timeline. I tried to delete everything. The posts, the account, my social media. But the screenshots were already everywhere. A subreddit had picked it up. They were calling me trauma grifter. They'd found my real name, my job, my address. Someone knocked on my door, not TJ, not Marcus, a police officer. We need to discuss a report filed by Marcus Thompson, he said, and a possible charge of filing a false police report. I invited him in without thinking, offered him coffee. My hands shook so hard I spilled grounds on the counter. He recorded our conversation. I told him it was all a misunderstanding. I said Marcus was manipulative. I said I'd been under duress. The officer nodded, took notes, and left me with a card for a criminal defense attorney. I called the attorney. She listened to my story for 5 minutes, then asked, did you admit anything to the police? I said no. Good, she replied. Now delete this call from your phone log and don't speak to anyone without me present. Her retainer was $5,000. I paid it with my blog's emergency fund, the money I'd saved for a security system I never intended to buy. That weekend, I stayed inside. I watched my reputation burn in real time. Someone uploaded a compilation video of all my bruise photos, showing the inconsistencies in lighting, angle, healing time. A forensic makeup artist analyzed my crying photos and pointed out the glycerin tears. A former follower who worked in digital forensics wrote a thread about how my metadata was faked. My attempt at scheduling posts was now a smoking gun. On Monday, my employer called. The HR manager had seen the article. We need to discuss your conduct, she said. We can't have someone with this publicity representing our company. I was placed on administrative leave. They'd mail my final check. I posted one last time. A suicide note, or what looked like one. I scheduled it for 2 a.m. when I knew my remaining followers would be asleep and couldn't intervene. I used language I'd copied from a crisis hotline's example posts. I made it vague but alarming. Then I turned off my phone and waited. It worked. Someone called a wellness check. The police broke down my door at 3 a.m. I was sitting on my couch, perfectly fine, drinking tea. The report mentioned no immediate danger. I screenshotted the broken door, the concerned officers, the damage. I posted it with a caption, this is what happens when you speak your truth. The comments were immediate and vicious. You wasted police resources. This is mental illness, not trauma. People are actually in crisis and you're playing dress up. But buried in the hate was a DM from a girl in Michigan. I did the same thing to my boyfriend last year. I thought I was the only one. I didn't respond. I deleted the DM, but I couldn't unsee it. She'd attached a screenshot of her own blog, her own staged photos. She'd done the same performance, gotten the same validation, faced the same exposure. She was asking for advice. I blocked her. My attorney called Tuesday morning. Marcus is offering a deal. He won't press criminal charges if you sign a confession, take down all posts, and issue a public apology. You'll also need to return the sponsorship money. The total was $12,000. I'd already spent $4,000 of it on equipment, props, the cousin payment. Or she continued, he takes everything to the DA. Fraud, false reporting, defamation. You're looking at potential jail time. I asked for 24 hours. She told me I had 12. I spent the day trying to fundraise. I posted a GoFundMe for legal defense against my abuser. It raised $200 before it was reported and removed. I emailed the sponsors directly, begging them to let me keep the money. I offered them exclusive content. I offered to name my book after them. They forwarded my emails to Marcus's lawyer. At 10 p.m. I wrote the confession. I admitted to staging the break-in, to paying TJ, to faking the bruises, to scheduling posts ahead of time. I made myself sound pathetic, delusional, in need of help. I posted it everywhere, then immediately deleted it. The screenshot culture was too fast. Within minutes my confession was on Twitter, Reddit, every corner of the internet. The narrative had shifted. I was now a tragic case of mental illness, not a grifter. Marcus's lawyer accepted the terms. I spent the next week manually deleting posts. I returned the money I had left. I issued a statement about seeking professional help. I even checked myself into a 3-day psych hold, not because I was suicidal, but because it made good optics. I posted the wristband, the intake paperwork. I got a new wave of pity followers, but here's what Marcus did that broke me. He never posted about it. Not once. No victory lap, no expos, no I told you so. He just locked his social media and disappeared. I had no victim to blame, no villain to fight. I'd manufactured a monster and he'd chosen to be a ghost. The final twist came when I got a package, no return address. Inside was a USB drive and a key. The key was to my own front door. Marcus had made a copy before he left. The USB contained the nanny cam footage, TJ's statement, the bank records, everything. And at the end, a single video file. It was Marcus, sitting in his car, filmed by his phone propped on the dashboard. He looked exhausted. By the time you see this, you'll have deleted everything, he said. You'll have played the mental health card. You'll have told yourself you're the real victim here. And maybe you are in some way I can't understand. But I need you to know I locked your door from the outside because I knew you couldn't help yourself. I knew you'd post. I knew you'd spiral. I locked it to give you time to think. And I kept the key because someone needs to be able to get in when you finally hurt yourself for real. The video ended. He didn't say goodbye. I still have that key. It's on my nightstand now, next to a bottle of medication I actually take. My blog is gone. My sponsors are gone. I work at a coffee shop where no one knows my name, let alone my old username. And every night I check the lock exactly once. Not because I'm afraid of someone breaking in, but because I'm afraid I'll never stop needing to be the girl who needs saving. I started writing this confession because yesterday a customer came in wearing a pepper spray keychain. The gel kind. The one Marcus taught me about. She asked for directions to the courthouse. She said she was filing for a restraining order. And for a second I saw myself in her, scared, desperate, ready to do anything for safety. Even lie. That's the thing no one tells you about building your identity on being broken. Eventually you have to stay broken to keep your audience. You have to manufacture danger because safety is boring. You become the architect of your own chaos, and when someone offers you peace, you burn it down because peace doesn't get likes. Marcus didn't lock that door to punish me. He locked it to contain the fire I was determined to set. And I picked the lock 3 hours later with a credit card just so I could post about being trapped. The bruise on my cheek in those photos, it's faded now, but I can still feel it when I look in the mirror. Not the pain of the punch, the memory of why I thought I needed it. The moment I chose performance over protection, content over connection, a narrative over a person. People ask me if I miss him. I don't know how to explain that I miss the version of me he saw, the one who could have been whole if I'd let her. But I sent that girl away when I realized that whole people don't get book deals. They don't get sponsorships. They don't get to be the brave survivor in the story. They just get to be happy. And I was never very good at that. I keep the USB drive in my jewelry box. Sometimes I watch the video just to hear someone say my name without pity. Marcus doesn't say Cassie in it, not once. He says you. And somehow that feels more personal than anything I ever posted, because you is specific. You means he sees me, not the persona. You means he knew exactly what I was doing and chose to leave anyway. The lock on my door is new. I replaced it after the wellness check wrecked the frame. It's a double cylinder now, just like Marcus recommended. I only have one key. I keep it on a ring by itself, no pepper spray attached. The coffee shop job pays minimum wage. I take my medication. I don't post, but I still check the analytics sometimes on my old blog. Someone archived it. The Wayback Machine has every post. People use it as a case study now. They dissect my language choices, my timing, my photo filters. I'm a teaching moment, a cautionary tale, the girl who cried trauma. I started telling this story today because last night, for the first time since Marcus left, I didn't check the locks. I fell asleep on the couch watching a movie, and when I woke up at dawn, the sun was streaming through the windows and nothing bad had happened. I felt disappointed, because if nothing bad happens, then I'm just a girl with a boring job and a medication schedule and no story to tell. That's the ugliest truth, the one that makes me worse than a liar. I'm addicted to the narrative of my own victimhood. I miss the performance, I miss the urgency, I miss being the most interesting person in every room because my trauma made me special. Marcus gave me a way out. He locked the door and drove away, leaving me with a key and a choice. I could break the lock, stage another crisis, keep the story going, or I could sit in the quiet house and learn to live without an audience. I broke the lock, obviously. That night I live-streamed myself escaping through the window, even though the front door was unlocked. I got 3,000 new followers before the stream died. They loved the drama, they loved the danger, they loved me, but the key is still here, it still works. Sometimes, when I'm feeling brave, I hold it in my palm and imagine what it would be like to use it the way it was intended. To lock the door from the inside and stay. To let the story end. To be the only one who knows I'm safe and let that be enough. Customer with the pepper spray left her business card on the counter. She's a divorce attorney. Her card says she fights for those who can't fight for themselves. I almost called her, almost told her everything. But instead I threw the card away and posted a cryptic message about needing a lawyer who believes survivors. It got 20 likes. No shares. I'm not writing this for forgiveness. I'm not writing it for accountability. I'm writing it because Marcus called me last week. Not to yell, not to threat. He just said, "I hope you're taking your meds," and hung up. It was the first time anyone had spoken to me like I was real in months. I said he's weak and can't protect me. He locked the door and drove off. But he protected me from the one thing I couldn't face myself, and I still haven't forgiven him for it. Maybe that's the real tragedy, not that I lost my platform or my reputation or my relationship, but that the only person who ever truly saw me was the one I worked hardest to destroy. And he